When people apply for a family petition and they realize that this process can take anywhere from 1 to 14 years or longer, depending on the category of family petition, the next question is, well, can I apply for a tourist visa to travel to the US while my petition is pending? And the answer to that is a hard maybe. It really depends on the situation. Generally speaking, tourist visas for people who intend to permanently live in the US are disfavored, but in this video I'm going to be discussing the nuances, when it might be possible, when it's less likely to be possible, and what you should generally expect throughout the process. If you're new to my channel, I'm Puyan Darian. I'm an attorney focused almost entirely on family-based immigration law, and after the video, if you have any questions, be sure to put them in the comment section below. Without further ado, here's the video. The reason this question is often difficult to answer is because not all family petitions are created equally. There are some petitions, for example, US citizen spouse petitioning for an immigrant spouse in a relatively clean case, where the immigrant spouse can be in the US within 1.5 years of starting the process. Now, some people might be watching this video and say, it took my spouse 3 years to come to the US, and other people saying 1.5 years, that's crazy. I know someone who did it in 10 months. Well, maybe that's true, maybe not. But consider that there are other types of family petitions, other categories, where you could be waiting 14 or more years for the sibling of a US citizen, or 8 years for an unmarried son or daughter of a US citizen. Add 6 years if they are married. So in light of these crazy processing times, not every family petition is viewed with equal weight when you apply for a tourist visa. When you apply for a tourist visa, you eventually go for an interview at a consulate, a US embassy or consulate. And that consular officer's one main job is answering this question. Does this immigrant have the intention to just visit and leave the US? And the burden is actually on the immigrant. There is a presumption that you're gonna overstay or violate the terms of your status, and it's your burden to overcome that presumption. If you have a family petition pending with a US citizen spouse, there's a good chance that you don't want to just visit the US. You want to live permanently in the US with your spouse, but it's not determinative. You may actually just be planning to visit the US. I had a client who was in the Indian military. He was like a high-ranking official, and he had to stay in India for several years. And he had a US citizen spouse with a family petition pending. And he went to the consular interview and he showed them, like, look, I have these duties. I have to return to India, but during the meantime, I would like to be able to visit my spouse in the US. I really do intend to just visit and leave and eventually do my family petition process through the consulate, which is what you guys want me to do. And the consular officer said, okay, yeah, you brought a ton of evidence that you have ties to India, that you intend to come back to India after each visit. You've been in the US before and you never overstayed. We believe that you're just gonna visit. And he was given a tourist visa. Now, when this Indian national, whenever he would fly to the US, the first time he flew to the US, the Customs and Border Protection officer at the airport, the customs guy, said, hey, we see you have a family petition pending from a US citizen spouse. Why should I believe that you're not just gonna apply for adjustment of status, a green card, as soon as I let you in as a tourist, circumventing the immigration process which is supposed to go through the consulate? And he just showed them the evidence of his military service and that he has to leave. He was allowed in. He left a few weeks later, exactly when he said he would leave. And then during his subsequent entries, he wasn't given as hard of a time because they saw, last time we let you in, you left. You were married to a US citizen then, you're married to a US citizen now, nothing has changed, you kept your word, and so they just kept letting him come and visit. Now, sometimes he would get a new customs officer and he would have to show them all the evidence all over again, but actually it became a pretty easy process for him. Now, let's look at another situation. Let's imagine you have a sibling petition pending and you ask me, can I wait in the US with a tourist visa while the petition is pending? The answer is no, you can't just wait in the US. A tourist visa is to visit and then leave. And that is really the exact situation that the consular officers who are in charge of giving tourist visas are looking for. They don't want you to overstay. By the way, if you have a sibling petition pending and you overstay your visa, or really any petition that's a preference category petition, and if you don't know what that means, I have an entire video explaining that. You can't overstay any visa. When you enter as a tourist visa, you generally have a maximum allotted time of 180 days or less. If you overstay that, you can't fix your status with a sibling petition specifically. You might be able to fix it through marriage to a US citizen. That's a very specific type of immediate relative, but that's, again, a topic for several videos that I've already made. When people apply for tourist visas and they have a family petition pending, a lot of it is going to depend on how close that petition brings you to permanent residence. If it's a petition for a type of category like a US citizen spouse where there is no priority date or waiting period necessary, as soon as you're in the US, you can apply for your green card, you're going to be looked at with a little bit more scrutiny when you apply for the tourist visa. You probably need to show a really legitimate reason why you want to visit while this case is pending, because there are other types of visas that might be available for someone who has a US citizen spouse who's trying to get into the US a little bit faster. By the way, those visas, it really depends on when you apply for them. They don't usually get you into the US that much faster. You usually have to suck it up and deal with all the hardships of family separation, which I know is no easy task. Let's say you're from a wealthy country, a first world country that allows its citizens to travel to the US with a visa waiver program, like the UK, United Kingdom. You don't even really need to apply separately for a tourist visa. Some UK citizens might be saying, hey, what is this guy talking about? I've traveled to the US many times. I've never been to a consular interview. I just had to go online and fill out an application for ESTA. ESTA is an application for visa waiver program countries that just lets you into the US. There are special rules for it. But let's say you're from a different country and you're wealthy, and you demonstrate that you have a ton of resources to the consular officer, and you have a petition pending from like a parent, and you're an adult. So that's gonna take 8 years or longer. There's really no risk of you overstaying merely because you have a family petition pending, because if you overstay, that family petition probably isn't gonna help you. You're not gonna be eligible for permanent residence in that category of family petition. And besides, even if you did overstay and somehow you became eligible for permanent residence through that petition, it's gonna take 8 years or longer. So entering as a tourist visa, there's just a different calculation for the officers. But the reason I'm distinguishing between like wealthy and not wealthy countries is for tourist visas generally. The officers, unofficially or officially, kind of assume you're more likely to overstay your visa if you're from a country that's less well off. You're gonna have fewer opportunities in your country, you're coming to the US, the land of opportunity, and you're more likely to overstay. Whereas if you're from a wealthy family or you have a ton of resources, even if you're from a poorer country, if you're like wealthy in your country and you come to the tourist visa interview showing like, hey, I'm in college here, my family has all this land, look at this bank account statement that has all of this money in it, like I'm not gonna overstay, I legitimately just wanna visit the US while I'm on vacation, you're more likely to get the visa under those circumstances. Whereas if you're like a poor rural farmer from a third world country and you do or do not have a family petition pending, you're gonna really have to show a lot to get a tourist visa to enter the US. You might have to apply multiple times. You might get refused the first few times until you can show, like, look, I have substantial ties to my home country. I have my sick parents who I need to take care of. Here is a letter from their doctor saying I'm their primary caretaker. I have my home here. I have obligations. I have people to take care of. I have a dog, whatever. In that situation, it's possible you'll get the tourist visa if you can show clearly that you just intend to visit, but it's gonna be way harder versus somebody who's way better off than you. You might be watching this video and thinking like, hey, but I know someone and he has no money and he's from a poor country and he got a tourist visa to enter the US. Yeah, it's possible. What I'm describing is largely based on my experiences and what my clients have told me and what I've just seen over the years. Tourist visas are highly discretionary. You might just get a consular officer who believes you and doesn't require a ton of evidence and takes your word for it. Or there might be some stuff going on or some circumstances with someone you know who got a tourist visa that you might not be fully aware of. Either way, don't take what I'm saying now as definitive, evidence of what you need to get a tourist visa or not. It's just based on my experiences doing this type of work. If you have any experiences or want to tell me how wrong I am, the comments would be a great place to do it. I would love to hear about your experiences or people you know who've applied for tourist visas, whether they got them or they didn't, what the consular officers told them. It would really help people who are watching these videos out a lot, and I'm just really curious to know. If you do comment, I'll be sure to respond and we can keep a conversation going. If you have specific questions about anything unrelated to a tourist visa, because my office does not help people apply for tourist visas, you would need to do that yourself. But if you have any specific family-based immigration questions, the comments would also be a great place to put them. Alright guys, thank you for watching my video. Be sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you next week for another one.